Dear ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ihor Kohut. I am director of the Ukrainian Parliamentary Institute. Welcome to this event, presentation of the research Ukrainian Parliament in wartime, key trends and challenges. We are happy to conduct this event together with our partners from Austria. We conduct this presentation in two languages together with the Institute of Danube region and Central Europe. We host this event. I would like to give us a couple of minutes to make sure you are well set for the presentation that we have today. Just make sure you can find interpretation channels. We are going to stream this event on the web page of our partner Institute for the Danube region and Central Europe. It will be broadcast on their YouTube page and the Facebook page of the Ukrainian Parliamentary Institute. This research was based on the previous years' researches that were conducted in the previous years, those NGOs and partners that assisted the Parliament to maintain their operations and to build capacity in the wartime. However, it appeared that we had to conduct chronicles of the Parliament's activities in the wartime. It is not historically defined chronicles. However, it is important to see in dynamics how the parliamentary resistance evolved and the operations and activities evolved over the past years of the wartime. This research was made possible thanks to the support of our colleagues from Austria, Institute for the Danube region and Central Europe. There was a conference conducted for the university rectors of the Danube region. Great support was provided to us so that we could continue this research to review the parliamentary activities over the past years, starting from 24th of February 2022. I hope that our research and the presentation today will become a very important event to share the message across the globe that the parliamentary institution in the wartime undergoes a deep crisis. However, thanks to great will of many people and commitment of the parliamentary staff, parliamentary operations continue in a quality way to ensure performance of key parliamentary functions, such as presentation of the citizens' interests and the other functions. So I hope this research will become a chronicle of the parliamentary activities in the wartime, and it will take its due place in the parliamentary history of our country and our region. We can conduct our research and our activities in many other formats. We can discuss it later. At this point, I have an honor to give floor to Mr. Sebastian Schaffer, Director of the Institute for the Danube region and Central Europe. Thanks to your cooperation and support, we can enhance Austrian-Ukrainian relations and deepen our cooperation at the level of political institutions and NGOs, think tanks, universities, and your institute is the leading organization and extremely proactive organization, especially considering that you celebrate your 70th anniversary. It's one of the most senior organizations on the European continent. Over to you, dear Sebastian.
Thank you very much, Igor. Thank you very much for these kind introductory words. Welcome to the presentation of this study. It's a pleasure and an honor, but on the other side, also a dire necessity that I would love that would have not been necessary. Let me briefly explain the words that I just used. The challenge that we actually need to have a study on how a parliament in wartime operates in the year 2022 and following, still counting, is based on the fact that we have not, and when I say we, as the other European partners, be it within the European Union or outside of the European Union, been able to provide Ukraine with enough support that it will not be fully invaded as it has been since 21st of February 2022. This war is ongoing. I think some of us do either intentionally or unintentionally forget that. And I am constantly reminding people that this war is approaching its fourth anniversary, and it's of course nothing to celebrate. The second thing, that I am sitting here, as much as it is a pleasure, because it's a pleasure to cooperate with Igor and also with Tanya Bibik. We met both in Kiev last year at Arsenalna and sat down and talked about activities, necessities, and this is how my role in the involvement became, and where I went to convince the Danube Rectors Conference that this is a project worth funding. And I'm absolutely grateful that the presidency of the Danube Rectors Conference has decided to provide this funding, because without this funding of the Danube Rectors Conference, this would not have been possible. But it only became a necessity because another actor decided to switch priorities again when it comes to Ukraine. And here, of course, I'm talking about the United States of America. We have seen the change, and we have seen a shift in support. I recently learned, for instance, that the CIA World Factbook has been terminated. Another chronic that was looking at a variety of countries where this information is no longer updated and no longer available. What we are seeing is that democratic institutions like parliaments are undermined and targeted all over the region. We see that a democratic country with a democratically elected parliament is being violently, aggressively attacked, where the civilian infrastructure is being destroyed. And we see that there's other geopolitical players that are withdrawing their support and actively undermining democratic processes and democratic developments. And therefore, I'm not very happy that we actually have to do this. Nevertheless, it's a very important work, and I'm stopping here with the negativity and focus more on the positivity, because the study is one of the rare studies, because I mean, on the one hand side, it's not something that you do in nowadays, that you sit down and read 60+ pages. On the other hand, it's also a question of time, but I took the time, and this is one of the rare studies that I read from top to bottom, because it is absolutely fascinating work and fascinating and interesting information. So I am very, very happy that we have been able to support this a little bit, that this study has been conducted. I think it's impressive work, it's relevant work, and as Igor said, it's something that will go into the history. And I am absolutely convinced that the history of the Verkhovna Rada will continue in a democratic way. We'll see a fully democratic functioning Verkhovna Rada, hopefully sooner than later. But in the meantime, I say what we have been saying a bit late, but nevertheless, since 24th of February 2022, as long as it takes, we will try to support all the efforts. And this is a shining beacon of light that shows what resilience the Ukrainian population has, what resilience is there, that under those conditions, not only the parliament is operating, but an independent and very well done research is possible. So I congratulate you, Igor, and your team for the impressive work that you have done. It's a pleasure to be with you here. And enough words from me. Let's go into the interesting part. I'm very much looking forward to the presentation. Thank you very much. And this was not the last cooperation. It's just the start of the first of many that we have done. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, dear Sebastian, following our meeting. This is the history that is arising from our talks, our meetings. We produced some results. There is a tangible outcome of our efforts, and we witness history unfolding in this part of Europe, and the security of the European continent is based on what is unfolding here in Ukraine. Sebastian mentioned the role of the United States. I would like to say a few words about that. And I would like to mention that Pavlo Frolov just joined our conference, member of parliament. He just got back from his trip to the United States. Hello, dear colleagues. Happy to see you. But I would like to come back to the research. The research was first started when we got support from the United States Agency for International Development, which enabled high level of professional support and expert support that we provided to the parliament, that facilitated the parliament in its operations in extremely challenging time. And that there is another person on this call who I would like to welcome and recognize his efforts and contribution to drafting this report. Mykola Boychuk, attorney, lawyer. He contributed greatly to the activity of the Ukrainian Parliamentary Institute and the Parliamentary Committee on Economic Policy. On the one hand, Mykola has got great experience, as are the co-authors of this research. On the other hand, Mykola can present the research in an excellent fashion. He is postgraduate student and practitioner. He prepared the presentation, and I believe he will present the key points of this research in the very memorable way. Mykola, over to you.
Sorry. Yeah, Igor, thank you for the kind words of introduction. I'm gonna share the presentation. I will try to adhere to the timeline here. May I get the approval for the sharing? Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, first of all, I would, of course, would say a few words about this continuing research. It is truly continuing. Basically, the same team of experts is working on it several years. We had several reiterations of this research, and this is the thing which increases its value because we can see everything in dynamics. We can have some, as Igor have mentioned, some chronicles of Ukrainian parliament, and to evidence the history. Other thing which is very important about Ukrainian parliament, it is, as Sebastian mentioned, the resilience. I think every person from other country who is looking into the practice of Ukrainian parliament during the war should think of its parliament, of its government. How would they work in the same circumstances? I think this kind of thinking is very helpful, and would be like very beneficial to perceive this Ukrainian experience the right way. Ukrainian parliament came into the war with, as we saw, resilience, but also with some problems, which were some of which were inherited from the previous periods, some of each formed few years before the war due to political environment, but nevertheless. So the main weaknesses with which Parliament stepped into the war was the weakness of oversight instruments in the Parliament. The oversight, there was a lot of formal oversight instruments, and MPs in previous decades, they've got a lot of political influence and political powers to exercise oversight, in fact, over the local authorities, over the government, etc. But as political powers of the parliament start declining, it becomes it appears that the oversight, the parliamentary oversight system lacks institutionalization, and it lacks established mechanisms which would work regardless of the political environment. Then the over-centralization of political decision-making comes. It was also a weakness of the parliament at the beginning of the 2022. It began, of course, in the political cycle, which started in 2019-2020, and sometimes it proved itself good for the wartime, but still, if we are looking through the lenses of parliamentarism, it's not like the best thing for the democratic parliament. The next weak point was the transparency issue. So basically, it is somehow similar to the situation with parliamentary oversight, because transparency, there have been de facto transparency. The journalists had very good access to parliament, including to parliament buildings, etc. And it worked somehow before the war, but with the war, once again, it became apparent that there is no system for the transparency. So in our research, we focused on two of these weaknesses, on the parliamentary oversight and on the transparency, as well as the second very important pillar for the parliamentary work in Ukraine, is EU integration track. So that was like the three main topics of the research. So if we're talking about transparency, the overall trend was that initially the transparency, I would say, not just declined in the beginning of the war, it basically dropped very quickly and to quite low level. However, for the martial law times, even then, there have been some minimal transparency transparency features in the work of the parliament. In the end of 2023, the transparency start to gradually recover within the parliament. I think the several the very important milestone was the May of 2024, when the journalists regained limited. Yes, I had.
Feel free to switch your slides.
I didn't get the translation, probably. So the May of 2024, the journalists are back to the parliament. Actually, I think Igor here was one of the several people who lobbied for that decision, and lobbied quite successfully. I'm sorry, I'm notified that the slides are not moving. Ira, maybe you can then share the presentation, because on my side it's working. I'm now on the third slide.
We can see slides changing now. Yes, thank you very much.
Is it seen now? Okay. So I'm gonna continue in this mode then. Yes, and now the transparency is improving more and more. For example, our research, the period of the research is ends at the end of 2025, and even after that, in this a month and a half, we had quite a good development. The law on the transparency of committees has been unlocked and enacted. So now there is a progress with that as well. During the research period, the question hour resumed, because basically it was paused in starting the full scale war committees communication even before the law was enacted improved. Of course, there have been difference between committees. Some committees did better job, some committees did not so good, but we've had quite good examples for committees even doing an extra job. For example, the Committee on Social and Labor Issues, they even published digests of news in their field, etc. The restricted zone in the government quarter also reduced, so it also provided some better access and more chances for the public to see their MPs at least. Still, as I've mentioned, the problem is that the practices of the committees are inconsistent. The parliament had been working on the communication strategy. It is also not enacted to the full extent now. So there are still zones for development, as they say, but the overall trend is quite satisfactory. Then we move to the next topic. It is European integration, and of course the Parliament's role is first of all adopting legislation which supports EU integration, which harmonizes Ukrainian laws with EU acquis, and which is otherwise necessary for the EU integration. We see that before 2019 and 2025, more than 200 EU integration bills were registered, and almost 90 of them were enacted. If we take into account that some bills could have duplicate others in some proposals, etc. So de facto percentage, de facto share of enacted bill in EU integration is probably higher. Parliament introduced several procedural, or let's even say quasi-procedural things for EU integration bills, such as marking such bills on the Parliament website with EU flag. The conformity tables for compliance with EU law were enacted. Official translations started working better, and there is dedicated dedicated staff to that. Each parliamentary committee got its subcommittee on European integration, as well as the very EU integration committee got some additional powers. However, the main problem of the EU integration is still in place. The parliament doesn't have the unified procedure and separate track for EU integration bills. That's still the main problem. There are several bills which are aimed to solve this problem. Unfortunately, they're still pending, and they're still considered by the parliament. And the last but not least field of our research was the parliamentary oversight. As I've mentioned, a lot of oversight was done informally in the previous periods, and now there is a need to formalize and to institutionalize oversight to overcome the problems it faces, such as irregular attendance by the minister. The question times to the government was suspended for a long time. The government hasn't adopted its agenda, etc. All these things have been partially solved in the latest period. So the government question time was resumed. The government presented its agenda last year. Investigative commissions became more active recently as well. However, still there are a lot of problems. Ministers mostly ignore committees' invitations. With like rare exemptions, outgoing ministers report to the committees, and reporting to the parliament is rather formal still. So there are still a lot of problems with the oversight. Wrapping up and coming to the conclusions, there are still some unresolved structural problems with Ukrainian parliament. However, there are developments, and even as we are looking at the four post-war priorities which we outlined here, the first one has been already partially solved in the beginning of the year, as the committee transparency law has been unblocked. So we need badly standardized EU integration procedures. Parliament still needs strengthening of its analytical and drafting capacities. It will help like all the weak points we outlined, and of course Parliament needs restoration and enforcement of its oversight mechanisms. So overall trend is good. Parliament is developing as an institution. it is somehow reminds me the slogan which is used for Ukraine's rebuilding post-war, build back better. So I think that Ukrainian parliament is truly being built back better, and we hope that our research would be a little contribution to that as well. Thank you for the attention. If you've got any questions, let me know.
Thank you very much, dear Mykola. We have this great opportunity to ask questions. We can do it using chats on Facebook and YouTube. Our colleagues are watching the comments, but we understand we don't have so much time. We have 1 hour for our event in its entirety, and for us it is crucial to convey the message that there is this study, share the links to the study. It's very important that Mykola pointed out to the fact that Verkhovna Rada is on the right track towards reinstating transparency and the best practices, including in the parliamentary oversight function. We are deeply integrated with the Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine, yet we are an external observer. We are observing what the parliament is doing and how the parliament is evolving. I would like to suggest we give floor over to the Member of Parliament, Pavlo Frolov. Please present your views over the parliamentary activities over the past 4 years. You are a very experienced Member of Parliament and very knowledgeable. So over to you. Your work is of immense value on the Parliamentary Budget Office, rights of internally displaced persons, accounting chamber, enhancing and strengthening accounting chamber. Over to you, dear Pavlo. Thank you, dear Igor. Thank you, the Ukrainian Parliamentary Institute. Thank you, Mr. Sebastian Schaffer and Mr. Mykola Boychuk. As a matter of fact, Ukraine and everything that has been unfolding since the outbreak of the full-scale invasion will become part of the world history, and the way how the parliament responded to the wartime challenges, that is a unique experience that I'm sure will be studied by many researchers in Ukraine and beyond. 3 hours following the outbreak of the full-scale invasion, the parliament met in the parliamentary session hall. We had a lot of discussions of what to do, how to proceed, and we decided that the members of parliament should demonstrate the same resilience and courage as the Ukrainian citizens. Of course, we heard a lot of fears and conversations that the decision-making center was under threat, was endangered. No broadcasting of the parliamentary session was allowed. Journalists were denied access to the parliamentary building. There was such a special period of time that politics disappeared from the parliament. In the wartime conditions, the parliament voted practically unanimously for important issues of defense and national security, such as mobilization. We stopped watching and accounting for political party affiliation when voting on important decisions in the parliament. It was virtually impossible to continue complying with all the parliamentary procedures, such as parliamentary debates, because we were under constant threats of missiles arrival and bombing. So we had to communicate in a clandestine way the venue of the parliamentary sessions or meetings or time. It was communicated in secrecy. Actually, when this parliament of the present convocation came to office in 2019, shortly after that, there was a COVID pandemic. So in many ways, we adjusted our modality of work. The parliament went digital, went online. In COVID times, we already established the routine procedures of online sessions and signing documents online, full communication, and many operations went digital. It helped us immensely during the wartime. All the procedures adopted during the COVID time helped us in the wartime, except for the parliamentary session. It was much more difficult. So there were some reservations as to holding the parliamentary sessions in the parliamentary session hall online, switching online, but we have reviewed some best practices from the European parliaments, how many parliaments in Europe responded to the COVID challenges. They conducted parliamentary sessions in the online format, even the large parliamentary meetings. What I'm saying is one of the facets of this chronicle, as you mentioned. There have been some studies of the parliamentary activities before, and there will be some studies of the parliamentary activities after this day. But a lot of things have changed since the first days into the full-scale aggression. We have now famous legislative spam back. More and more deputies are prone to drafting many pieces of legislation. Now we have the broadcasting back and the journalists are back to the parliament's building. I believe all in all, it would help us to comply with the democratic standards fully. In the first years into the war, since the outbreak of the full-scale invasion, the parliament demonstrated unity, exemplary unity. We have in total about 800 laws, basic fundamental laws that constitute the national legislation. In the wartime, when people were losing their houses, documents, credentials, basically all spheres of societal life and activities were affected and required immediate response and amendments to the legislation. In the first year since the outbreak of the full-scale invasion, the parliament adopted 300 or amended 399 laws, which means approximately 50% of the basic national laws were amended. It shows how greatly the different spheres of life were affected by the war and the way in which the parliament responded to the challenges. Thank you, dear authors of this research, once again. Thank you for your attention. I believe this work will have to continue. This is an analytical review, dynamic review that allows us to see how the parliament evolved over time. Thank you very, very much. Thank you, dear Pavlo. Thank you for your view from the inside of the parliament, because since the outbreak of the full-scale invasion, we have little access to the parliamentary building. The parliament underwent a gradual process of becoming fully open and transparent. It became the full-fledged democratic institution just before the outset of the full-scale invasion. I would like to add to what Mr. Mykola said and Mr. Pavlo said, a few subjects. One is a few points. First of all, the parliament did not stop its activity, did not go online. Pavlo, I will give floor back to you in a minute. Sadly, thanks to COVID pandemic, the parliament established some routine procedures of working remotely. A lot of digital tools were developed to assist the parliamentary activities. Online voting, etc. Some points to make. Oversight function, transparency. That is important, but institutional development did not cease. In 2022, the Parliamentary Research Service was created. It marked an important step to contribute to providing the members of parliament with all the up-to-date information necessary for decision-making. The Educational Center continued its operations, working with the audiences of children and young people. They conduct both in-person and online sessions for children and youth. Another important point that Mykola mentioned is the parliamentary capacity to work on the European integration. That implies a huge transformation, massive transformation. At the same time, the parliament is making sure that it remains open, transparent, and democratic. We witness a non-precedented process of parliamentary transformation, reform, pursuing the roadmap to ensure the European integration. The Parliament develops a strategic executive framework We may assist the Parliament by involving experts such as Klaus Welle and other experts. Klaus Welle used to work as a Chief of Staff of the European Parliament, head of the administration or secretariat of the European Parliament. All in all, it helps us to bring Ukraine closer to the European Union. Our cooperation with the Institute for the Danube region and Central Europe, it all emerged through our outreach and cooperation with the Austrian Parliament. The Austrian Parliament has helped us a lot in terms of establishing the Parliamentary Budget Office and other tracks of cooperation. Our institute, Ukrainian Parliamentary Institute, conducted strategically important sessions aimed at strengthening capacity of the Youth Council at the Verkhovna Rada. Involving youth is a very important track in the Parliament's development. Of course, we can talk a lot about the Parliament. We know that a lot of experts might be viewing us now and later in the recording, domestic and overseas. We understand that there is still room for improvement. Without funding like we had from the United States Agency for International Development, it may look harder, but the project we are doing to create the study and maintain this chronicle is crucial because we address all over and over again such important pillars as the parliamentary oversight function, transparency, the European integration. That is crucial now, and it will be crucial once the martial law is lifted in the post-war time. We are looking forward for peace, for recovery period, and this research would help us navigate how to proceed, how to work in the post-war conditions. Thank you, dear colleagues from the Ukrainian Parliamentary Institute and our partners and experts. Thanks to the support from the Austrian colleagues, we managed to consolidate our expert potential and produce this research. It has been already shared with diplomatic circles and the parliaments of the European countries, EU member states, and we start getting some feedbacks. As Pavlo Frolov has mentioned, we need to produce the Ukrainian language version, and we will have to post it on our website. Pavlo, over to you. Thank you. It's important to mention that it was all this departure from the democratic procedures was conditioned by the arrival of the large-scale war that the humanity did not see since the World War II time. Of course, you can criticize a lot, but this general trend from being fully closed to being open, we observe that transparency practices are coming back. There is a law on the status of a member of parliament which provides for exemption of martial law related restrictions. They should not be applicable to the members of parliament. There are many questions, but I would like to address the point of challenges once again. A very important challenge remains inability to conduct elections. About 6 years, the society experiences very many challenges, extremely difficult conditions, war, loss of family and loved ones, loss of income, loss of housing. Parliament as the legislative authority, of course, we witness this desire and societal demand for elections, to have trust in the elected representatives. In addition to it, the number of elected MPs is going down. We have 393 MPs from constitutionally stipulated 450 MPs. So, essentially, we have to adopt decisions by a quorum of MPs that has to be calculated as 50% plus 1 from the constitutionally stipulated number, whereas we witness the decrease in number of MPs. Members of Parliament withdraw from their positions for a number of reasons. This is a Ukrainian phenomenon. Usually people are eager to become a member of Parliament. We have about 10 people who refused from their MP's mandate. We have to keep it in mind. Of course, we are very happy that Ukraine received the status of a candidate country to become an EU member state. A lot of challenges remain on our path of the European integration. To draft or redraft the legislation in the quality way is one of the challenges. And we have to make sure we bring up our legislation in compliance with the EU acquis on the conditions and terms that are beneficial to Ukraine. Thank you once again for your presentation, for this research, and thank you for this great opportunity to speak during your event. Thank you for your insights. We feel likewise, elections are crucial for democracy, and that corresponds to the societal demand. Consolidation of political forces in the parliament that we saw since February 24, 2022 was unprecedented. Of course, parliament is linked with the trust of the society. Parliament needs the trust of the society to be fully operational. At this point, I would like to give floor to Mykola for final remarks. Once we discussed many points, exchanged our thoughts, just over to you to wrap up this presentation. Once again, I would like to say that when we present this study and the experience of the Ukrainian parliament to our foreign partners, international partners, it would be great if they ask the question, if they were in such conditions, what would they do and their respective parliaments? This is a stress test. that the Ukrainian parliament is enduring while preserving the democratic standards and procedures. There are some things to improve. I did not mention in my presentation the Parliamentary Budget Office. Such things could benefit from getting further attention and improvement, but I think we should be happy that we have a chance to discuss the further evolution and development of the Ukrainian parliament in this challenging time. Yes, it is our mission, our job. We appreciate support we are getting from the international partners. I would like to express my gratitude to our colleagues and partners from the Institute for the Danube region and the Central Europe. Miss Sophia is with us, and Mr. Sebastian from the Institute left early due to the need to depart on business trip. We believe this is a very important message that we are sending about the resistance of the Ukrainian parliament. We are recording our presentation, and I believe many experts and partners and different representatives of various institutions are going to come back to the recording of this event. And the status of democracy, state of democracy in Ukraine and in the Ukrainian parliament. Thank you very much for your participation in this presentation. I believe we will be getting a lot of questions across various platforms and social media groups and chats. Thank you for this meeting. Great cooperation. Thank you very much. And see you soon. And thank you, dear interpreters. Irina and her team were among those who stood up together with us and went on working for the parliament, to support the parliament, starting ranging from the delegation and the president of the European Parliament and ending with the delegations of members of the European Parliament and many other delegations. Thank you, dear Igor, and thank you, dear colleagues.